Hey there everybody, Jack Barnwell here in beautiful Naples, Florida at Driftwood Garden Center. We thought it'd be fun to tour you through this gorgeous nursery and garden center, show you some stunning color. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's dive in. All right everybody, so we are here at Driftwood Garden Center in beautiful Naples, Florida. Unfortunately, during the COVID-19 pandemic that is racing across the globe, but we felt that something we could do for all of you is take you through a gorgeous garden center full of color and beautiful blooms to give you a little break from the news cycle and all the chaos that's going on right now in the world. We think it's really important to immerse yourself in beauty and remember that we will get to the other side of this together. And also to just show you some really gorgeous things that are happening here at Driftwood that are blooming and what's happening in the garden center world. All right, upon entering Driftwood Garden Center here, immediately you walk right into the fountain section, which I think is brilliant because as soon as you get in here off of this busy road, 41, which is, you know, a very busy road here in Naples, Florida, you immediately get immersed in the garden center feels. So they've got all these fountains hooked up and running, many more that aren't even, you know, full of water and running. But it just blocks out all that traffic noise and transforms you from the busy chaos of the parking lot into the garden center. And I think that's a really smart move on their part. It's really important to separate yourself from that scene and that chaos that's going on out there and prepare you for the beauty of what's to come. Big, beautiful bench full of hanging baskets, some really nice combos up here. This combo right here of all proven winners plants is really, I mean, just the colors themselves are awesome, but it also features two of my absolute favorite Petunias there in Black Cherry and Bordeaux. Really love that with this Superbina. Nice color, you know, a whole kaleidoscope of color all through this whole annual section. I'm gonna let you guys walk through and enjoy the color in all these flowers, and I'll catch up to you in just a minute. Okay, so here at Driftwood, in addition to all the gorgeous annual colors they have and in full beautiful bloom, they do a lot of these really impressive pre-planted combos that are kind of ready to go. They've got some nice little hanging baskets here. We saw some other really stunning combos up hanging on these rails above the benches. And then they have some pre-planted upright pots that, again, these are ready to sit, you know, right on your patio or your front porch. You can take this out, put it into another pot that you may already have, or you can get a pot because a lot of these garden centers are open, and even with social distancing and the reality of right now trying to be as careful as possible this spring, they still are offering curbside pickup and all kinds of things. You can call in your order. They'll put together everything you need so you can still be out there gardening and enjoying some time with the family and plants. So this particular garden center has a little bit of everything, including some really awesome offerings for people that have water gardens. We've got some beautiful water lilies here grown right in these big troughs full of water. Some awesome papyrus grasses and irises. Look at these little black truffle plants here, grown right in water. They've got this water circulating and running through, and all these plants look super healthy. Then the garden center sort of fades from their big annual candy show out toward the front. And then as you're walking back, you get into their first section of more shrub and tropical like plants. And these are all 1 gallon plants We use a lot of this kind of stuff, tucking it into planters, and then a lot of our work for C3 Gardens down here in Naples. But I mean, look at this, even as a 1 gallon, a super cute little Mandevilla vine in yellow. That is a really, really pretty yellow right there with that orange little center to it. And these are so nice at a gallon size. It's really, really nice. Another lovely plant that we use a lot is a Gardenia. These vine and trail and go kind of crazy. These have become a really popular plant actually nationwide as an annual. You can get them all over the place these days. And they bloom all summer long, love the full sun, and they sort of spill and climb. They'll climb up a trellis, or they'll just sort of spill out wild out of a planter. They come in red, some different pinks, whites, and obviously that yellow is quite amazing there. They've got some really cute ferns here. This is a Macho Fern, which looks quite dainty and small here, but this thing is a beast. It will get gigantic and really spread and take over a shady area in the garden. This Ruella, which a lot of people call Mexican Petunia, is a very, very popular plant down here. People use this in the full sun. You can whack it back really hard and it just kind of keeps coming. Flowers pretty much all year round, and we get these really pretty kind of dusty purple blooms on dark foliage. So a really nice plant, but again, pretty vigorous. You got to know your plants down here because even though this looks like a fairly tame little plant in a gallon and oh, isn't that cute, this thing will eat your cat. So you got to be a little bit careful because it will spread like crazy. So you got to put it in the right place, right plant, right place. We always say that, right? And that's definitely an example of a plant you want to be knowledgeable of. Liriope, this is kind of a plant that we use, actually is pretty hardy even up into further north. People use Liriope even up in like zone 7, zone 6, zone 7 and down. This variegated variety is my personal favorite. But Liriope we kind of use as like our daylily, stuffer filler toward the edges of beds and landscapes and stuff. Can be mass planted as well. It does have a little flower, a little purple kind of muscari-like tight little purple flower to it, but it's really more of a nice mounded foliage looking plant. And again, we'll get pretty big. It's funny to see some of these plants in little gallons because they're awfully cute when they're in gallons, and we use these little guys in pots and planter combos all the time. But even in the tropics down here, even these little gallon plants, these crotons, eventually could turn into a massive 20-foot tree. I mean, all of this stuff, except for the mondo grass and everything, but many of these plants will really grow significantly bigger than they look like they're going to or wanting to there. Blue Days, this is blew my mind. This is a great plant here from Proven Winners. They've got it in these cute little gallon pots. It's rare to find such a great true blue, and believe it or not, this is one of the #1 selling Proven Winners plants in the country, probably because it does so well in the south, it does so well in the full sun, and down here it will actually perennialize. It'll live year-round for us and kind of come in and out of bloom all the time. It's got that dusty kind of gray foliage to it, and it's like I said, it's hard to find that beautiful blue, which happens to be the Pantone color of the year. So check it out. Look for this plant at garden centers this summer. If you've got a really sunny area and you need some ground cover, that's a great one for sure. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. They've got some beautiful lantanas. Lantanas are tough as nails down here. It's a good summer plant because they do love the heat. Some butterfly bush, which the Buddleias, down here they don't do nearly as well as they do a little further north. That's more of like a zone 5 to 7 is their like ideal range, 5 to 7, 5 to maybe 8. Down here, we do see them, we do plant them up a little bit, but in the summer, in the peak heat of the summer, they kind of fry out. You know, frankly, I think they need and enjoy a little bit of dormancy and downtime, a little bit of rest, like we all do. So, but there's a few varieties of buddleia there that at least the butterflies flying around the nursery certainly seem to like. Oh, I wanted to show you guys, we're just getting into some of the pottery. As you know, I'm a huge fan of pottery, obviously, but they've got some really great terracotta here, all of the, you know, stunning glazed ceramics. We're gonna walk through a lot of their pottery and stuff once we finish going through all the plants, but I just had to show you these super, super cute little pots that are over here because I walked by these earlier and I just freaked out. I don't know what the heck you would even put in something like that, but I think I need about 20 of them because they're just like the cutest thing in the world. I mean, look at that little thing. It's like, I mean, what do you put there? It's so cute. Yeah, these things are super duper cute. So our mission for the day will be, as we're walking around this whole entire nursery and looking at all these different plants, we're gonna find a plant that will go into this little pot that will thrive, and we're gonna plant it up. So we're gonna plant up this teeny little 1.5 inch pot, probably 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and we're gonna have the cutest little thing. I love it. It's so fun to just walk through a garden center or nursery like this and just breathe, you know, take a deep breath, get some a little plant therapy, color therapy, and get some ideas going and stuff like that. You know, it's totally free to come through here and enjoy a little bit of time in and amongst the plants. Getting into their big Croton collection here, they've got a lot of really neat varieties. Some funky wild ones. Look at that yellow and green back there. Sloppy Painter, this is one we use quite a bit here. Again, in that yellow, almost like chartreusey yellow and green range. Croton is a very versatile plant as well down here in the tropics. Can handle full sun. A lot of varieties can, you know, certainly thrive in the sun, but in the shade they get even more interesting foliage color and a little bit better architecture to the way that they grow. And you get things from, you know, dark purples and blacks all the way up into these really bright, brilliant colors and foliage. A lot of fun. All right, so here at Driftwood in Naples, they really don't have that large of a footprint to play with, and they really pack a lot of plant material onto this lot. And one of the creative ways they've come up with to get a lot of plant material in here is by putting all of their trees in rows, and then the trees are acting as windbreak and diffusing the sun, so they've got a lot of their really nice foliage tropicals like these cordylines tucked in here, getting a little bit more dappled sun, which they certainly enjoy. We've got some really beautiful elephant ears back in here and some philodendrons, a lot of different philodendrons and gingers and stuff. And then you look up and there's just awesome, beautiful trees, anywhere from 15 to 25 gallon, you know, nice sized trees. One of my personal favorites and my wife's personal favorite is the Hong Kong orchid tree. They are kind of a mess, but what a beautiful mess. They smell amazing. This one's losing all of its leaves because I'm like going a little crazy on it, but we'll, because I kind of freak about these trees, but oh, they smell so good. And look at that color. Hong Kong orchids, these are all in full bloom right now, so quite a beautiful day. Here we're getting into the palms, and Driftwood has a lot more than this, you know, off-site that they store, but here on-site they've got quite an impressive collection of palms that, that all look really good. It's amazing to learn how many types of palm trees there are. You know, people think palm trees, it's like a coconut tree and maybe the pygmy date palm, which are, you know, probably the two most popular, but there are hundreds. I don't know the exact number, but there are so many different palms and different styles and shapes that you can get them in. You can get, you know, clumps and or trios like this, or single stem. So just like up north where we all love our birch trees that we use a lot in landscape up north, we can get clumps and, you know, tri-stem and single stem birch and stuff. And they do the same thing with palms down here for landscape to get the different looks and different, you know, shapes and styles and stuff like that. Look at these Plumeria. So this Plumeria here, this plant, you can literally break off a stick of it and shove it in the ground and it'll grow. It's like an unbelievable wonder that some of these plants survive. Another really popular plant down here in South Florida especially are bromeliads. These have been, you know, really become a staple through many, many landscapes. They're tough as heck. They've got a really neat sort of tropical look to them. And a big misconception is that bromeliads are a full-on shade plant. Now they do enjoy some shade, especially afternoon shade, some dappled sun, but a lot of these bromeliads, you know, in this display here at Driftwood, have been grown in the sun and are really adapted to it. So if you've got a super sunny location, some of these selections here will do well in the sun, and you got to be careful with them though. They are pokey little critters, but they're so cool. I mean, just an architectural beauty, and they do flower. I mean, all these bromeliads will send up flowers. None of these right now are flowering, otherwise I would show you how interesting those can be. But and some of these, like this is the fireball here, I believe, these will kind of trail and spill out. They just send little babies up all the time, spilling out and sort of self-propagating, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so I know I've said this a lot, that this is my favorite part of Driftwood, or I love this part of Driftwood the most, or whatever through the day here today, but this really is my favorite part of Driftwood Garden Center and Nursery, because this is where the tropical, lush gorgeousness of this big, huge shade house is, and I mean, I freaking love this plant material in here. The leaves, and they do such a nice job with taking care of their plants and displaying their plants. All the leaves are wiped down and displayed really beautifully. So they've got, you know, more palms throughout here. They've got some shade palms and stuff back there, but a lot of these plants are geared more toward interior planting or on the lanai and patio. And so this is where my company, C3 Gardens, really spends a lot of time, because we do so much of that style planting in containers and pots and stuff. But all of these plants would do really well inside for a long period of time. Look at that Australian tree fern. I mean, that is a beautiful, beautiful specimen. I love the way the foliage like uncurls and comes to life. Look at these little babies rolling out there. That is a very ancient Jurassic Park-like plant. Now that we're in the shade here, more bromeliads that like the shade a little bit more, and you get a lot more dramatic color in the foliage. I've never seen that purple like that. That's really, really awesome. But here at Driftwood, they always have a nice display of anthuriums. Of course, the classic red is always very popular, reds and whites. And then they've got these cute, dainty little plants over here. We might be able to find a plant for our tiny little pot over here, but it's got to be just the right one. Like, look at this guy. That's almost suited for it there, but but I don't love it enough. Although, look at this little fern. That could be the winner there. That's pretty sweet. But they do have, again, a lot of these plants eventually want to become huge, huge trees, but they've got them, you know, cut down and propagated into very small sizes so that they can be little interior foliage plants for a while to be enjoyed. This is a really gorgeous plant here, this variegated baby tears. That's what that's called. Baby tears. Some really interesting ivies. Awesome variegated ivy there. These English ivies are classic. And look at this gardenia. In the garden center, gardenias always seem to look the best. Oh, that foliage and fragrance looks amazing. But these are really healthy. These gardenias look great. And I can tell you this fragrance is just rolling right through here. They've got all these fans blowing some air in here and inside this greenhouse. And strategically, I'm sure they put these gardenias along the ends of these aisles so that you're just smelling that smell as you're walking through. And it is certainly by design to make you that much more intoxicated in here. And then, of course, the orchids. These are absolutely amazing specimens here. Beautiful, beautiful color. They have a lot of orchids that they put on sale as soon as they go out of flower. They're totally fine, but they aren't in peak bloom and looking, you know, all gorgeous and colorful at the time. So if you do come, you know, go to your garden center and you're really into orchids, check out, sometimes they have orchids that are out of bloom that are, you know, 50 or 60% off even sometimes. Look at that guy though, right there, has a lot of blooms on it, more coming. Look at that color. That's a really, really healthy plant right there, loaded with roots. So these orchids, they're just selling them in very, very thin little plastic like liner pots. And then they have all kinds of orchid pots that they offer up so you can plant your orchid in whatever you'd like. So a lot of orchid pots look like this with holes and stuff all in them because orchids are an air plant. So you're not supposed to plant an orchid deep down in soil like a traditional plant. They really will grow in next to no soil. If you notice, all these orchids are planted in like a bark chip mix. And the roots really thrive in that environment. They want to have moisture, but they don't want to be, they need a lot of oxygen. They don't want to be buried in soil. So all of these planters that are really designed for orchids, you know, like I said, some of them are terracotta there. Others are quite nice in these glazed ceramics. I really like that black right there. That glossy black is pretty nice. So you can pot up your own orchid. They also do a lot of potting and beautiful arrangements and stuff right here. This Driftwood has their own very large-scale, full-service florist shop. So another great gift for anybody that's sort of stuck at home right now is a big, beautiful bouquet of flowers. They do deliver and/or offer that curbside pickup. So I highly recommend, you know, if you're feeling generous, sending flowers is certainly a sweet way to tell somebody that you love them. And/or plants, you know, a living planter planted all up, delivered, lasts a heck of a lot longer than a bouquet of flowers and gives them something to care for and totally fall in love with. And if they're like me, they will be hooked for life. So we've pretty well wrapped up our tour of pretty plants here at the Driftwood Garden Center and Nursery. Now we're going to check out some of the pottery that they have to put all these beauties in. Okay, lastly, we wanted to show you through their beautiful pottery collection here at Driftwood. When we were over on the other side of the nursery walking through all the plants, that's where they had all their terracottas, and inside the big huge greenhouse they had a lot of interior planters and fiberglass planters and stuff like that. But what really excites me and gets me going is all these beautiful glazed ceramics. This is my personal favorite. They've got a lot of really nice coloring and stuff in here. Now, granted, they don't have aqua pots yet, but they will soon. And when they do, their collection will be significantly more impressive. But they do have some really, really nice pots, for sure. And one of the most popular colors, especially down here in Naples, is this blue. They've got a lot of different blues here. This one is, this light blue, cobalt blue is kind of the most popular with our clientele especially. And they've got a nice collection here of blues for sure. Some of these look like huge, huge pots, and they are for sure. But once you get them in front of these large-scale businesses or larger homes, they really, they really make sense, and they are to scale. It's important to have large pots in front of large buildings because you certainly couldn't put a pot like that in front of some huge building. It would just look foolish. But a little pot like that in a collection, in a corner, or in a smaller, more intimate setting makes a lot of sense and is quite beautiful. Look at that super tall, skinny. See, pots that are this tall and skinny worry me, unless they're in a very protected area. But something like that, I feel like would just blow over in a good breeze, and we certainly get some pretty good winds down here. I love all these milky greens and wild green colors and stuff like that. And then one of my favorite glazes is definitely the aqua or ultramarine coloring. A lot of really pretty pieces here. A lot of different, variation in glazing and stuff too throughout this whole collection. But you can see how popular this color is in this market. Down here in Naples, they've got a lot of it. Some of it has more purple and everything in it. That's actually just a really pretty piece right there in general, but some nice square-like shapes and some huge ones and some small ones and everything in between. So all these beautiful plants that we've been walking through and everything like that, could be planted up in any number of these pots and shown off. Look at this green with the blue rim to it. In the right place, that pot could be really, really stunning. I don't think that a lot of clients would jump all over that, but that's very unique. And then, lastly over here, they've got a big collection of white. White has been extremely popular for the last couple of years, and I see why. It goes a lot with more of the clean, modern style of a lot of the design of the homes and stuff down here, and the way the builders are designing these homes, and it's hard to go wrong with white. They look really, really beautiful on just about any home, and any planting and combination in them can look really, quite stunning. Well, thank you so much for joining me on my little walkabout through the Driftwood Garden Center here in Naples. Certainly encourage you all to stop by and check them out next time you're down here in Naples, Florida. But this spring, please do support all your local garden centers. Give them a call, do curbside pickup or whatever the case may be, but support your garden center. It'd be great for you to do some planting and play around with some plants, and certainly great for them to get your support. Last but not least, I gotta plant up my big, beautiful new planter here. And I went with that cute little red fern. And that's my little take home I'm gonna give to one of my boys. Have a great day. Thanks all for joining.